Hello, hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to In Conversations with R&B. This is Rabri.
This is Bruno. We're back.
We're back with episode 6, and today we're talking about Michael Spierig's Predestination, released in 2014. So if you have not watched it, go watch it so that we do not spoil things for you beforehand.
Unless you don't care about that and you just want to hear us talk about the movie, then you're more than welcome. Then just sit there, watch, relax, enjoy. All of
Whatever
that.
floats your boat.
Yeah.
Okay. So the movie is a mind bender. Again, talks about time travel and how that can have an impact on your psyche and how that can
Can talk about, for example, I mean, the movie itself. There are a few things there that we can tackle on too. Identity, trauma, the play you would call between free will and determinism in there.
balance of dualities,
Yeah.
yin and yang,
Shadow self.
shadow self,
All of that.
persona, ego. Talking a lot about Carl Jung's different archetypes, mainly the shadow self. So
Now, one question though, for you guys. What do you guys think about free will and determinism? Do you believe that you have free will though?
we have very opposite views of that.
Yeah, we do. And we can dissect that after, but okay.
Let's dive right into it.
Sure, sounds good. Are we? Am I asking the questions first, or are you asking?
You ask the questions first.
Okay, I'll ask
You
the
did not
question
do the
first.
homework, so of course you ask them first.
Look at that.
Calling him out.
Let me read out a quote here from the movie.
Okay.
Where it says, all actions have consequences. You can substitute fate if you like. I'm not going to allow you to make any more mistakes. And that quote there, with that in mind, do you think the protagonist ever truly free to choose, or is he trapped by a deterministic loop? What do you think?
That's too many questions in one.
So again, is the protagonist ever truly free to choose, or is he trapped by deterministic loop? Again, the idea of free will and determinism, right?
Depending on what lens you're watching the movie from.
Okay, so what lens were you watching the movie from? From the free will lens or from the deterministic lens? Deterministic lens?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then we're not so much different then in that idea. Because I don't think you have too much of a free will, though.
But then,
What?
but then if you're deciding your own fate, then doesn't that knock on the door of free will?
If you're deciding your own fate?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, again, going back to, I think, the other two episodes when we were talking, because this segment is about time travel. So when we were talking about the other episodes, we mentioned about like that idea of like if you think that free will means like you go to the market and then you choose the type of ice cream you want, flavor, whatever it is the case. That's so like little to think
But
about
that's
as free
also
will.
not okay. Wait, I'm sorry to cut you off there.
Hmm.
But like, even on that point, you already know what ice cream flavor you're going to choose or what clothes you're going to be wearing in the morning. Like, we tend to say that okay, I'm having this freedom of control, that this is what I'm going to be doing, but you already know because your subconscious is so it just knows. Your mind just knows what it wants to do, so you're autopiloted and you know which ice cream you're going to choose.
Yeah, but then again, that's the idea of like that most people would think that, oh yeah, I have free will because I can make those choices. But then again, if you think about it, those choices were predeterministic because I mean, if you think about it, all the things that happen into your life up to now are what makes who you are, and then all the things that you choose today are a product of your past.
Yes.
So then how
Okay.
are you making choices then? Right? So then there isn't a free will per se. There is a mind illusion that you have a free will in there, but aside from that,
But then oh my God, we're gonna go back on the same loop. Then how is it that you choose your own fate if you don't have free will?
again, I'm not saying you're choosing your own fate.
We just had a big argument on that.
Choosing your own fate?
Yes.
Oh, because I said I choose my own fate.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I see what you're talking about now. Okay, got it. Now, this is because here's the thing. I don't believe that you have, for example, your life written down by a superior being or whatever, and everything that is written down there is going to happen to you. You're like, your life is already uh, planned, detailed. Okay? That idea I don't believe.
Yeah, I'm opposite to that.
So you do believe that whatever
Is
let's
written is gonna come your
yeah.
way? Yes.
So whatever, like, let's say, let's call God. So whatever God written down that is gonna happen in your life, that's what it is.
Well, I do believe that it's constantly being written on the choices that you make.
Okay.
And that's why there is this whole idea of telling the young kids to make better choices. Because that is also that sense of
Mm.
having wee bit of free will, even if not full.
But then again, the idea of free will is if you have the control of doing all the things, not just one simple
You
thing.
don't have control of doing all the things.
Then
You're not.
that's why it's erroneous to think about that you have a freaking free will
Sure.
in that sense. Because here's the thing. So, can you
Talk, I said, talk.
can you, for example, if you think about it, can you from now on choose what kind of person you're going to be attracted to, and then stick with that, and no other type of person you will be attracted?
Yeah.
I doubt it, because I don't think anybody can do that.
No.
Yeah, you cannot choose that. So then, because if you cannot make that choice, then where is free will in that? I mean,
I'm not even supporting the idea of free will, and we're asking about free will.
yeah, because it's only a little bit in there, but then again, a part of determinism. Okay, so when I spoke to you about I do my own fate, whatever was the expression that I used in there.
Yeah.
What I was trying to say is that all the things that happens in my life are a product of the things that I did. So they are just consequences of the things that I have been doing so far up to now. That's it. It's not like, oh, I got lucky because of this, or God did this for me, or whatever it is the case. No, buddy. If I got into shit, then that was on me. If I'm doing good, that's also on me. I'm sorry, but that's not on God. Come on, buddy. You take all the credit? The heck?
Sorry.
So let me ask you a question then. I did ask you the question, and you haven't answered my
What was the
question.
question?
So, do you think the protagonist is free to choose, or is he trapped in the deterministic loop?
Trapped in the deterministic loop.
Okay, can you explore that though?
Because, okay, so we see there's Jane. Jane becomes John. John becomes the barkeeper. barkeeper becomes a Fizzle Bomber is doing the same thing. And before Fizzle Bomber becomes Fizzle Bomber, he is the barkeeper who's taken Jane away from the place, jumped back in time, and put her in the orphanage. While it's all happening in the now, it's just four different fragments of the same person doing the same thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm. But if you think about it also, right? Because they have that idea. So for example, the barkeeper believes that he has to do all of that so they can keep going and doing the same thing all over again. So like that time is not different and they come to the same conclusion. So basically, like you said, he comes, grabs her, brings her back to the past, and then she meets herself, and then she falls in love with herself, had sex with herself, gets herself pregnant, she delivers the baby, he comes, grabs the baby, and brings it back all the way to the past again. So she is her mom, her daughter, her dad, and the son. Holy smokes, it's almost a trinity there, so but it's four. No, it's actually five.
It's Trinity in there. The Fizzle Bomber is the shadow manifested itself fully.
Yes.
I told him to do his homework.
Well, I like to wing it.
We're not in university anymore.
Hey, but do you guys prefer something too rehearsed or something that is more authentic and I don't know?
Rehearsed, please. At least learn your lines.
Put it down in the comments there. Let us know. Rehearsed or
You
authentic?
don't go to theater and just wing it.
But we're not doing movie.
But the world is our stage.
Yes.
Shakespeare.
To be or not to be?
Is the question. Second question? Yeah, second question.
Why does the film insist on predestination rather than a butterfly effect model?
Because it's a different kind of model of time travel. All the movies that we've talked about time travel have different concepts to it. And it also depends on how you see time and how you choose to travel through time. Butterfly effect was how you go in the past and change the past. Yeah. This is about going in the past and keeping that loop on.
Yeah, because there's way more, like there's the hard determinism in this movie than it is on Butterfly Effect.
Yeah.
Because everything is pretty much like following by prior states. All that is happening is because he did this, he did this, he did this, and then goes on that loop, right? Doesn't come out of that.
Is the cycle of life. Mom, dad, baby.
You're born, you grow, get old, die.
Well,
return, rinse, and return.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
And then the Lord said, "Let there be light," and the earth was born. Anyways, so what was your question? Oh yeah, he already asked. What am I on? Yeah. My question to you is: do you think our actions are truly our own, or just like in the movie, agency was determining all the actions for Jane John?
So like the idea again of being deterministic with free will?
Yes. What is your idea on that? Just keeping the question same, but asking it in a different way.
Well, I have a very scientific mind, though, if you guys know me.
Yeah, and I'm the scientist here?
Of course you are. Yeah. We're all scientists. If you don't know about that, Google it.
It's too kind.
But here's the thing, though. So with the scientific mind, and from some of the researchers that I know, is that when you're making a choice, they have seen in MRIs that your brain works it out before you even recognize of a thought that you had and then making a choice.
So that's the subconscious part that we've talked about.
Yes, but the thing is, the subconscious is something that so far cannot be measured. And then because of that, then it's kind of like, again, going back to the idea of like, well, this is God's will or this is God's touch. And with that idea is your God is the God of gaps, if that is the case, because every time that science progresses and comes up with an answer for your question, and you keep saying like, oh no, but then this is because of God, blah blah blah, whatever it is, then you have the God of the gaps. And it's the same idea here, because subconscious could be used as this is God's will. So then the subconscious will, whatever it is the case, right?
So in other words, are you saying subconscious is God's will, or
No, what I'm saying is that subconscious is just a way to answer the question without giving enough evidence to it. Again, don't get me wrong, yes, we do have subconscious, but the problem is that we don't know what the subconscious actually can do.
oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
What?
So if subconscious is God, conscious is us, then collective consciousness are the ancestors.
Ancestors?
Ancestors.
Okay.
The ones who pass away.
Yeah, that could be the case.
We talked about that in the last movie.
Yeah, that's
so if
true.
we're again, going back to the first three movies, oh my god, that was such an aha moment for me right now.
Do you guys remember the aha movie? I mean, the aha moment on the first movie, though?
All the time. All the time. Go back, watch it. You know what I'm talking about. So when we talk about butterfly effect,
yeah,
that's the conscious part, right?
Yeah.
That's the ego part that wants to go back and change it,
Yes.
right? And then we talk about interstellar, which is a collective consciousness, because there's that time where Cooper is not present in Murph's life, but Cooper comes back, right? And then right now we're dwelling a lot on subconscious because of the cycle that goes on.
Yeah.
So
you see how
are we knocking some weird doors here, you guys? I don't know. You open them up yourself.
We got the Trinity in there, huh? She's always talking about this. Right?
Always.
Yeah. But then again, like I said, yes, I don't think that you have that choice to make. I mean, you think you do, but your brain already had that figured out before you even recognized that.
That's why making good choices is important, because like when we see this later in the movie, when the shadow fully manifests itself, which is the fizzle bomber. I'm going back on the same note. Yeah, continue. Sorry.
No, it's all good.
It'll come in one of the questions. It'll come better in another question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as I said before, so going back is that idea. You don't have that choice. And the choices you make that you think you are making it was already there for you because of all the things that happened with you before. So you are the collective pieces from your past all the way to now. That same idea.
That's right? Also the same note that we talked about. You're the sum of all the people that you've come across.
Yes.
All the good and all the bad. It's just finding that balance between shadow and ego.
Yes.
Shadow and persona, shadow and light, like however you want to put it, your yin and yang. Right? So again, see, came out better, didn't it? You just had to complete that thought. Yeah. Anyways, next question.
Yes.
How does the movie make you question your existence in the now? Like, do you think, are you balanced between your masculine and your feminine energy? Do you think, are you between a lover or an enemy? Or are you both together? Like, how is it that your leadership and your creativity is balanced? And do you think one is higher than another, or how is your yin and yang?
See, like, I I think there is some quotes that you can like. I'm pretty sure some of you guys probably know those, where you have two wolves inside of you, and then whoever leads is the one that you feed into, right? So like the good one, the bad one, whatever it is the case. Uh, I feel like it's it's both. So it's the duality in there. It's your shadow and it's your light. It's your evil and your angel side, whatever you want to call it. You know, like that idea that you have like an angel and a devil beside you, and then it's helping you choose those things.
It's Chitra and Gupt, if you ever study the scriptures. Again, all scriptures talk about it differently, but then those two ideas are also that of conscious and subconscious. Because,
Mm.
like, you're, again, that's the same principle of like those two. Angels are not literally sitting there.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the idea of which one is it that is talking to you, whether it's your conscious self or whether it's your subconscious self,
Mm.
right? And when both of them are balanced, you're an aligned person. And if any of them are not balanced, then you're either evil or you're either good. Because again, good and evil are very social constructs.
Again, yes, because
Sociology 101.
whatever you think it is bad might not be the case, and whatever you think it is good might not be the case either.
Again, we all have our own perspectives. What I see is different than what you see,
Oh, I'm glad that.
obviously.
Yes. uh, but sorry, go back to your question there again.
So, how balanced is your masculinity and your femininity?
Mm. How
How
balanced it
how
is?
balanced would you
Mm.
say it is? Again, not asking it on the Likert scale or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just asking a general concept, like, how do you think? Do you think you lean more towards your yin, or do you think you lean more towards your yang?
I think I'm in the middle there. I mean, I like to think that I'm in the middle there, just because of trying to find that middle path and not going to the extremes. Because I feel like when you go to the extremes, that's where your life is imbalanced. And then you have a, what do they call it, tunnel vision. So you just like seeing one straight way
Yeah,
to like to deal with things in
and
your
then
life.
tunnel vision is never fun for any mental capacity.
Yeah.
It's just you learn about different coping mechanisms, and tunnel vision becomes one of those things that you see when you have imbalanced insides.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I mean imbalanced insides, I mean the balance between your chakras, your yin, your yang, your different personas, your ego, your shadow self, because all of these things are encompassed between your psyche. And if your psyche isn't balanced, then you are imbalanced. That's when you see yourself go through periods of depression. That's when you see yourself be anxious. And when you are feeling those things, you start to question your existence. And do we really want to question our existence?
I think sometimes it's a fair question to do, to question your own existence. Don't you think so? Because,
Well, if you're purposeless, for sure.
well, no, because, like, think about this, though. If you think about, for example, like, have you never thought about, like, why did I choose to be born? If you are able to make that choice, though, too, right? Because, like,
Are we making those
yeah,
choices?
again, because like that idea, right? Do you believe you have a soul, a spirit?
Yes,
And did you
yes.
choose to be in this planet? You know, to be born in here, to go through all of this shit, to suffer, you know, and to go to those um, unfortunate years of being miserable. I don't know what it is your life like, but you got my point, right?
Just being mean. Ignore him.
It's
Not completely,
yeah, no,
obviously.
it's I feel like again, I had those questions myself, like
We all do. Again,
yeah,
we I'm not saying that as soon as you start figuring your own self out, you are going to have those questions. Why am I here? What is my purpose? What am I doing? But it is about that finding that purpose in life.
but again, do you believe that there is a purpose still for you?
You find your purpose yourself.
Yeah, but I mean, what do you think the purpose of life then? And a deep philosophical question. What
To
is the
keep the
purpose?
cycle going
What cycle?
of life. That's what the movie is about.
Yeah, but I mean, like, really? Is that all that it is? It's just like born,
going
raised.
back going back to Interstellar, we have no idea where it is going to end. That's why the cycle of life is there constantly, and it is stretching.
Tell me, what do you guys think? Do you think after you die, there's something out there?
Yes.
Or do you think it's over, game over, and it's done? I think it is game over and it's done. There's no redo, there's no second chance. It's all one thing and done.
That's why you gotta make the best of one life that you have. Shout out to Dad for making me watch this Bollywood movie called Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, which just literally translates to you're not gonna get life again. You only get life once. So make the best of it, right? And again, a lot of Bollywood movies talk about how if it was your last day, how are you going to live it? Because
Mm.
again, we don't know when that's going to come because it will knock on your door when it's least expected.
Yeah, it can be at any time.
And again, it's not just death of your physical body. We're also talking about death of your ego. And your ego has different personas. Your ego has different ways to put yourself out there. It's like different hats we wear for different people, right? Your oh my god, your death of a persona is, for example, you are per se you are doing this work right now, okay, and this work has this title. Give me a title.
What?
Give me a job title.
Oh, a job title. Sorry, photographer.
You're a photographer, okay, you're working at this job as a photographer, and then all of a sudden you think, okay, you know what, I think it's time to change my path. Of course you're not going to die as a photographer, but like you're going to still have those skills in mind, but then you become a videographer, right? Your hat as a photographer is going to change. Your persona, your ego is going to go into being a videographer. Does that make sense? So there's that death of previous self. That's the same thing we see in the movie. The first Jane, she's that innocent self where she is suppressed, right?
Mm.
She's vulnerable. She's looking for something. She's
Yeah.
looking for a place to be connected, right? And the agency feeds off of that because she's vulnerable.
Yeah.
And then she's like, okay, you know what? They don't accept women. I'm going to become a man.
Literally. Yeah.
Literally. And then she becomes a man. She, goes through her surgery. She becomes John. Now it's he. He has a death of Jane. Jane is dead. So while John has all these memories and all of this sense of self that I was Jane at one point, he is not that person anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that death of a persona per se.
Yeah.
So again, you don't know when death is going to come. So you don't know when you want to shatter that ego of yours.
That's the identity confusion that comes
That
in
is
into
when the
the.
identity confusion comes, because then yeah, that's why you need to stay in touch with yourself. That's why alignment is important.
Yeah, it's. I believe we were talking about this not too long ago, though. But when you go through things in your life, let's metaphorically think of like you are climbing a mountain, right? And then in that idea is like the person that you become on the top of the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to let go of that person you were before, because that person you were before,
Has served its purpose.
yes, and then you can no longer carry that person with you. So that self that you had before, it's gone. But then most people don't know how to deal with that, and that's where the identity confusion comes in.
That's also where therapy comes in. Go get a sane therapist for yourself.
Yeah, that would help you navigate this though, because we get so many identities on ourselves.
We
If you
wear
think
different
about it,
hats in everyday life.
yeah,
We wear different hats with our parents. We wear different hats with our friends. We wear different hats with people that we come across every day.
yes,
As a worker, you're different. As a customer, you're different. As a
mm-hmm.
boss, you're different. As an employee, you're different.
True,
And the sense of self that you have, like, no one person can know your true identity because you're a different person with them, is my whole point.
yes, and then
Even with yourself in the movie, John, Jane,
yeah,
barkeeper, and Fizzle Bomber, he's still confused with himself.
of course. I mean, like, think about it. You started this way, you become this one, and then later on you change because of something that happened, and then at the end he is the fizzle bomber there. He is the villain, and he's also the hero in the movie.
So, uh, what he's trying to say is you're the villain of your own story and you're the hero of your own story. Choose wisely.
Yes, because
Make better choices, kids.
don't
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 learn it the hard way. Sorry to cut you off.
no worries. Don't blame in other people though.
Yeah, don't blame other people for your choices. Like, what?
Yeah, don't blame other people for your misfortunes or anything like it. It's it's your own doing though.
And again, on his note, if you're blaming it on God, who is your God?
Yeah.
If you're blaming it on other people, then you're making other people your God. And are other people your God?
Take responsibility for your actions though.
That is what I was trying to say. Thank you for collecting my thought.
Take responsibility, like we were talking on the other move. Hat on, don't go gentle into that good night.
Ah, learn his line.
I'm sure you guys have seen the reel where I made the mistake, and the way that she looked at me, I almost died that day.
I would never kill,
Sure.
only with my eyes.
Look at that. Okay, so let me ask you this.
Ah, yes.
What do you think the movie says about a, again, oh, we were talking just about this. I'm sorry.
See, the flow of conversation is so good. We're like encompassing all of those
Yeah. It's just because
things.
I was going to say, like, what about the personal narrative if the hero is also the villain, right?
What about that personal narrative?
Well,
It's
because like
about
that's
taking responsibility.
yeah, and that's where the integrating of the shadow from Jung, right, comes
Yep.
in. Like it's accepting your darker parts, if you want to call darker parts or evil parts, whatever it is the case.
Depending on what you want to call it.
Yeah.
Again, it's a social construct. You want to call it evil, you call it evil. You want to call it temptation, you call it temptation.
So if that is the case, then maybe what you have to do is And that idea of free will and determinism is choose your environment, though. Because if you choose your environment, because your environment is going to influence you. So if you choose your environment according to what you think is best for you, then that way you would be making better choices. I don't know. That could be the
Yeah.
idea.
What you see is what you become. So are you seeing right?
Yeah.
Whatever you speak out becomes your truth. So are you speaking right?
Mm-hmm. If you, yeah, if you speak your truth in the sense that this is what it is, this is how I see the world, most likely you're not going to change your vision or your perspective unless something happens to you that makes that shift. But then if then again it's just like everything then it is subjective. Although again myself as with the scientific mind that I was telling you guys about, we try to be objective as possible when we are doing research, for example. But how objective can we actually be, though? I think maybe, I could be wrong. AI will help us with that, though, of being objective.
We go again with supporting the artificial intelligence. It's not artificial intelligence, it's just intelligent. It was made by a human being. So how is it artificial?
But that's the thing. Most people think that it is made by a human being. But
It's a
no,
software
no.
made.
The intelligence was already there, though. We were able just to capture that intelligence. Same thing with internet, though. Internet was already there. We just didn't have the tools to work with.
Internet wasn't there, the frequency was.
Yeah, internet was already there. We just didn't have a name for it or put it together. That's all.
Okay, fine.
But it was
That's a
already
better
there.
answer. Listen to him when it comes to AI and stuff.
No, but it was already there, right? So the same thing with AI.
Read your
AI was
scriptures,
already there.
people. Read your scriptures.
See, there you go. AI, Bible, or whatever is the case. What is the scriptures there again?
All of them. Oh my! Why do you? Bible's a great book to study.
No, I'm not saying it's wrong because, like, although I'm an atheist, I like to study about religions. Yes, there's nothing wrong with that.
Study whatever book you want, okay, and treat it like it's teaching you something. Something will come out of it.
Yes.
Whether it's Bible, whether it's the Gita, whether it's any of the ones, whether it's your psychology book, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Because that is what a scripture is. Scripture is anything that is written. It's a script. You just give it a higher status because it was the word of God. And if, going back to the same note, if you're blaming it on another people, then if you're blaming it on God, again, going back into the loop, is that it was written by God, and who is God if not man? Who came before, God or man? Rooster did.
Okay, I have another question for you, though.
What do you have? It's the last question.
It isn't. It's not the last question.
Still did not do his homework, and it's not the last question?
No, of course not. Okay,
Why
so
am I raging out today?
how do you think John Jane's childhood abandonment shaped the rest of their life, though?
Well, that's where the idea of where is that connection? Where is that belonging? Where do I go? What do I find? How far do I need to go in the space for exploration? That's the first self she is born in.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Jane.
Yeah.
Right? And then she goes and becomes John, where, it's anger. Because, like, in that timeline that they are at, women are not allowed to explore the space. And she just goes, oh, if women are not allowed, I'm going to become a man. Goes through a surgery of becoming a man, becomes a man, still is very angry, still hasn't let go of her suppressed self,
Mm.
which is Jane, who is still looking for that belonging. That belonging is inside of you, people. You will not find a place to belong until you find a place to belong within yourself. Space exploration is the same thing. You cannot, if the answer is love, then you have to love yourself before you can pour that love out to somebody else.
Yes.
That's why I am my favorite.
But my question was more alluring to, I feel like the abandonment that they have as a child is that idea in psychology of like how trauma affects your life. So
There's that identity crisis that come in after too.
yes, and we have, for example, what we call ACE, which is adverse childhood experiences, and that can give you a measurement of like the traumas that a child have faced so far until now, and then the amount of trauma gives you a score in there and can give you an idea of that childhood behavior, coping mechanisms, and all of that. So in Jane and John, there you see that how trauma, because they were abandoned, and they have that like repetition compulsion to do the things all over again and then be stuck on that loop. Because if John doesn't go back in the past and be with Jane, they had sex and have himself being born,
It's so
then would,
mind bending. It is
yes,
so mind
there
bending.
would not be existing anymore, right? So then he has to keep doing that so he can continue his existence. It's a matter of like,
Is
do you
that
want
why
to
we have wars? I'm just kidding.
keep alive though? That would be my conclusion for him, why he keeps going and doing the same thing. Now the part where he becomes the villain,
That's the shadow self fully manifesting itself, because there's that part of like wanting to be belonged somewhere,
mm,
right? And then he finally finds that he's in love with himself, and which is again the person from the past and everything. And then he goes through identity crisis again.
but like what I was trying to come up with the villain in there is that every time that loops goes, I feel like he's trying to fix that loop.
But there's no
Yeah, there's no fixing, but
fixing.
like every time that he's trying to fix that loop,
Oh,
fixing the that wound.
he's trying to fix that wound every time, and every time he tries to fix that wound, the shadow self morph manifests itself, and then Fizzle Bomber becomes more. And then at the end of the movie, and okay, here's the thing too, the movie leaves you at a cliffhanger, okay? Mr. Mans thought here that, okay, because he shot himself, the cycle's gonna go again.
Yes.
But because it leaves you on the end, you don't know that. Maybe it's the last time he's trying to fix that loop.
Could be, but the idea in the movie, and then what keeps you on your toes, is that because of that trying to fix that wound, going on that loop again, is where you can see how trauma hijacks all the time, and then it keeps bringing you back and doing the same thing.
That's why you need to fix your trauma
Yes, and then
so that you
here,
stop infringing upon yourself.
and I don't remember if I actually said that before in other episodes, but Dr. Bruce Perry came out with NM, which is the neurosequential model. And he explains that When something happens for you, what do you guys think that happens inside of you? So, like, for example, do you think that an event happens, you have an emotion about it, you think about what that emotion serves and how you're feeling and everything, and then you react, you do an action, or is the other way around, or I don't know how you would mix all of those three components in there. But in the neurosequential model, it's basically like this: an event happens, you react to the event. So your brain reacts to it. Your reptile brain, they call, reacts to that event. When you react to that event, you have an emotion. Now, according to the NM model, when you have a reaction and you have an emotion about that reaction, people that have childhood trauma, they go on to that loop. So, meaning you react, you have an emotion, and you react again, and then you have an emotion, and you keep going in that. Now, there is a way for you to get out of that loop, which is achieving the other next step into that, which is the processing and the processing of the emotion that you had and the event that just happened with you. Because that's when you reach to the conscious part of like thinking about it and processing that. So when you do that, then you're able to get out of that loop, and then childhood trauma would have less effect per se on your behavior. So basically is you have to have that process of like you react, you have an emotion, you process that emotion, and then you can go back to like living life as normal as possible. I don't know what is your normal, but that's the idea.
What is normal? That was a great train of thought, by the way.
Normalcy. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? Like, because we would call normal, for example, probably what most of the majority think how life or how it should be. That's what basically normal means. And whatever it is abnormal is that it is out of that scale, not the scale, but the, what's it called? The bell curve. So if you are on the opposites of the bell curve there, that's where you are abnormal. But if you're in that
We don't
realm of
even
the
use abnormal word in psychology anymore.
abnormal psychology,
Yeah, but we don't use that in terms of people.
yeah,
So
no,
you can't call people abnormal.
no, I never said it was a person abnormal per se.
Okay, thank you.
What I was trying to allure to, it was just like
We live in a woke culture.
the opposite of normal. Let's say, let's put it that way. The opposite of normal.
Okay,
Okay, what
better.
would be the opposite of normal? Abnormal? I don't know. So, but that would be the case.
But you can't call people abnormal, is all
No,
I'm
no, no.
saying.
I'm not calling you or anyone abnormal. That was not my idea. It was just the idea of like the opposite of normal, and that's where
It
you
just means that they're not aligned and they need some
get.
help.
Are they need help? So, for example, if you put it into the bell curve there, let's say IQ, you have an IQ 2 or 3 degrees above there.
But then IQ is a standard test for which was designed by a white male.
Yeah, yeah, no,
So
no.
like you can't.
Okay,
Come on.
let's not go to the merit of like being white or whatever it is,
No,
the
I'm
IQ
not.
that was created and
Sorry.
everything. What I was trying to say is that if you're on that side of the bell curve there,
Outside
then
of
you're
the camera is what he's trying to
then you
say. His hand is like way out there.
then you are considered a genius. When you're on the other side, they consider you what?
But
Low IQ. And then when
who
you're
is
considered
to decide that?
no, that's not my what I was trying to say again. Fuck me. is you have the normal in that freaking bell curve, and you have the people that lie outside of that are not normal. That's it. What do you think do you think the bomber's identity is an act of revenge or an unconscious self-fulfilling prophecy?
Unconscious self-fulfilling prophecy.
Why would you say that?
Because it never got the help it needed.
So what is a self-fulfilling prophecy though?
That idea that I choose my own fate.
Self-fulfilling prophecy is that? No. Okay. It's simple if you just say like I don't know. Okay? We don't need to know all the answers. A self-fulfilling prophecy, it's basically when you have that idea also, for example, you know how stigma can make people, like go into that spiral of like people think I am this way, so I must be this way. All of them tells me that I'm this way.
Mm-hmm.
A self-fulfilling prophecy is basically taking that stigma and then just like going along with that. So, for example, let's say um, you tell the kid, and everybody else tells him, you cannot swim. For the love of God, you can't swim, dude.
But then
you just don't know how. It's not in you.
But then you have to teach the kid how to swim.
But again, they tried many times, let's say, and the kid still hasn't learned. But then that's where the self-fulfilling prophecy would achieve that idea, is that the kid would believe that in the end he cannot swim. He tried so many times before.
Yeah, that's
a lot of people try to teach him.
That is where the idea of stigma comes in too, right? Like, yes, you have to break that stigma for yourself. Nobody else is going to do that for you.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So the self-fulfilling prophecy is when you have a stigma and then the person that carries that stigma believes in that stigma. So then the self-fulfilling prophecy occurs.
Makes sense.
You got it? Yeah. So then now, care to explain why do you think it is a self-fulfilling prophecy into the movie? Like the bomber, for example.
Because it's controlled by the agency, and the agency is, keeping Rooster on the freaking limb that you have, like, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you have to explain to them.
Can you explain that now?
Sure. So the idea is this. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy because the bomber believes that he needs to get to that point so then he can change, or not actually change, but go back again and do all over. So it's like you embody that role that you have. And the bomber embody that role and keep doing the same thing all over again. He becomes the bomber, kills a lot of people, but in his idea is like, I'm not killing
millions
innocents per se, or millions.
He is killing innocents.
Is he? I think he believes that he's not killing innocents.
He is killing innocents. He's just killing the people that are also not innocent.
Oh yes, that's true. Because he thinks that he's the way that he's killing is killing less people than it would be killed.
Kill more people.
Yeah. That idea of like, what's the name of that in philosophy though? I believe is
the trolley.
No, yeah,
the trolley experiment. It's the same thing with the trolley experiment.
It's that idea of like, well,
like, are you gonna so a trolley experiment is basically, are you gonna kill 5 people or are you gonna kill 1 people, right? So, but then in Fizzle Bomber's mind, again, if we do this experiment, we bring this Fizzle Bomber there and we tell him that out of those 5 people, 2 people or just 1 people are one person is this person who's gonna blow up the entire world. Fizzle Bomber thinks, okay, well, I know the other 1 person that is on the other side is going to murder one person and the other one is going to kill millions, so he kills 5 people. Does
Yeah.
that make more sense?
Yeah, it does.
Go read what the trolley experiment is, people.
Yeah.
It's mind bending too. If
Mm-hmm.
we change the character of the person who's pulling the pulley.
Right.
See, philosophy, psychology, sciences, all of it.
Encompass. Now, last question. Are you happy now?
Very.
What do you think are the lessons we can draw about turning trauma into purpose?
Trauma into purpose?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Expand on that a little bit more.
Well, because think about this. Healing from trauma means you stop being on that loop,
Yes.
like the NM that I was explaining.
Yes.
Healing means you get off of that and then you can process
Mm-hmm.
what happens with you, right? So you're actively choosing growth over replaying it all over again,
Yes.
of keeping on that loop, right?
Yeah, that's like getting help when you need, right?
Yes. And what we call this in therapy, though,
What do we call this in therapy?
post traumatic growth.
Wow.
Yeah, it's your post traumatic growth. So then going back, resilience, right? Something happens with you, the way you react to that, the way you process that can make a difference and makes you grow in the sense of this happened to me. I'm going to safeguard myself so that doesn't happen again. And now I have some tools to deal with that because I've gone through therapy and I found a way to process that and heal from that trauma.
Hmm.
It's finding a meaning after the fact, after the suffering happened.
Well, you always find meaning after
Well,
suffering.
but that's the thing. There are a lot of people that can't find the meaning, so then they keep on that loop, right? So then they can't get out of that. They
That's a
reenact the
difficult
trauma.
place to be. That's a very, if you have not found, if you haven't found meaning after your entire suffering,
Hmm.
then it has no purpose at all.
But then again, if that is the case, so for example, I would say that the person that cannot find meaning
Yeah.
after their suffering, they usually are the ones that end up ending their lives because they can't get out of that loop. They can't find a solution
But then
for
you're going to come
the
back
trap
if
they
you kill
are.
yourself. And do you want to do this all over again?
Well, that's your belief, right?
Liberation.
Life is only one. Don't waste it.
Who am I to say anything?
So, with all that in mind,
Oh.
yeah,
We're finally done with this episode.
question for you though. Have you ever felt trapped by your past actions? And what choice would you rewrite if you could? Think about it. And most important thing to learn about all of this is trauma loops can be broken.
Yes, obviously. Haven't we learned that in all the previous episodes yet? That all of the trauma that you carry is going to come to an end when you start seeking help as a whole. You start collecting that fragments of you, babe.
You have to work. It's it's not going to be given to you.
It never is.
Yeah.
Nothing falls in your lap.
You gotta do the work.
Because that is all that there is. Work, 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 work. Okay, anyways, that's the end of our episode. Thank you for tuning in. That'll be our outro. Like, share, subscribe, comment down below whatever new movies you would like us to talk about. This is Bruno. This is Rabri.
She got all the lines and I didn't say any shit. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Peace. Bye.
Bye.